Well, hello!
Hello!
A little throwback to Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Hey, what's up,
Well,
Kyler?
thank you all once again for joining us for another edition of Witchin Kitchen Hour. Ah! I knew that. All right.
Oh, half the time I mix it up, too. That's what I get for coming up with such a catchy show title.
Damn it. All right. Well, we welcome you to another edition where tonight we're discussing yet another one of our favorite cannibals. His first name is Hannibal, and of course we are going to be talking about Silence of the Lambs.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yes. So, before we get started on all that shit, I am currently cooking some stuff, and I'll be doing that throughout the show. Unfortunately, Brother Gangis had to eat already, so who knows what he ate. But he's got some pictures for you that he'll show in a bit, and we're going to run a commercial from one of our dear sponsors over at... You know what? No. Actually, before we do that, let's roll our new merch commercial.
Oh, yes. Gangis has been a busy little demon today and has made some new merch. And check this shit out.
Fuck yeah. So if you like what you see, folks, first of all, share the shit out. Share it everywhere to all the horror lovers that you know. And if you like what you see and you like what we do, you could definitely support us by getting any of those kick-assery items in the new merch shop. And let's get that on the screen so they know where to go.
I can do that. Hang on. I meant to do this earlier and I didn't. That's like Genghis sucks and put the same shirt in our commercial twice, but that's okay. Shh.
That's because it's really a good shirt. There it is. 3 Witches
There it
Entertainment over at spring.com. That's where you can get it. We're not charging you an arm and a leg, folks. It's just, if you like it, it's a great way to advertise us to all your friends.
Absolutely.
So, I am working on some smoked sausage.
Nice.
Yum. And what did you actually have tonight?
I had my own vegetarian version of, I kind of like liver and fava beans. I did some fake steak with a mushroom gravy and put it on top of mashed potatoes and had lima beans with it.
Look at that. Fancy.
Oh, yeah. Here I made, I boiled the potatoes and I mashed them all up. And I cooked my fake steak, onions and mushrooms, dumped in a can of cream and mushroom soup and some spices, and I cooked my lima beans with butter and garlic and lemon juice.
Well, holy shit. You all got a tutorial right there.
And it was fucking good. But it's too fucking late for old man Genghis to be eating dinner now.
Yes, for sure. I had just gotten home, and the bourbon is very well chilled. And as you can see, the meat is on the slab. All right. One of the reasons we picked Silence of the Lambs is not only is it a ridiculously killer fucking flick, which a lot argue, is it horror or is it not?
I don't know.
We'll get into that. We'll try to get some of y'all that's watching, get your comments on that, just to, we like to get your perspective on it. But we picked him basically because not only is he a cannibal, he's a classy one.
Absolutely.
He's got one hell of a penchant for the finer things. Well, to him, it wasn't necessarily killing. It was more along the lines of they just didn't need to be around anymore. So he preferred to eat the quote unquote free range rude. So, and let's face it, most of the time he ate people that weren't nice people. So,
Exactly.
and he's not actually the full focus of this film. So
No,
we have
he's
a
not.
lot to talk about. So let's talk about, obviously, the main star. And her name is escaping me, which sucks.
Clarice.
Yes. Well, Clarice, but I was trying to think of her actual name. Shit. I know it's so bad. Do we have it?
Anybody
out there in Three Witches Land? One more time?
Jodie Foster.
Yes, Jodie Foster. Man, who would have thought that a very homely character like herself, everything she's played prior to this film, that they chose for this role as Jodie Foster. Now, personally, I think they chose well.
Agreed.
Because her whole look, her accent, that, Southern Belle, fresh out of the woods kind of shit, I think really brought it home. Good evening to somebody we don't know. All right.
Kyler said he loves the show and the movies. Yes, that show that they made.
Trust me, I will be referencing the show later on because it is also one of my personal favorites. So, who better to play Hannibal himself other than Sir Anthony Hopkins?
Absolutely.
The man can deliver a line that even if it's like something nice, it's so eerie and psychologically dark in tone.
For sure.
That's just me. I've loved him literally in just about everything that he's played. So, which also makes perfect sense why he ended up in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Nobody could have played Van Helsing better than Hopkins did. So it was so different. This was not something we were used to seeing. The Red Dragon was just a remake of, I think it was called Manhunter. Which kind of came out in the, I want to say, late 80s.
I think so.
Which, don't get me wrong, Brian Cox played Hannibal in that film. Did a fine fucking job, I might add. But Anthony kind of brought a more sinister approach. So, I don't know. For me, Anthony Hopkins and one other person I haven't mentioned yet are probably the two best to ever play him.
Agreed.
Brian Cox was
Anthony
cool, yeah, go ahead.
Anthony is just so, like, the way he pulls it off, he's just so, like, creepily charismatic. He's just so classy and elegant and yet so creepy.
That's it. You hit the nail on the fucking button right there. It was, in fact, his elegance that really delivered the character, because sometimes you got the feeling of this guy is one of the best psychologists ever, which, as we know, was Hannibal's character. So you got that, and then there were moments where he would totally fucking like psycho out and hit you with like some seriously. I mean, he's smiling, he's well-mannered, but he's talking about how he ate people to her.
Yes.
I don't know about y'all, but if you ever had to interview any type of serial killer like that, I don't know how easy it would be to have that conversation. And let's face it, Jodie Foster, A, is one hell of an actress, or B, she was literally feeling that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Because you could see it and hear it in her voice and her facial expressions that she was legitimately, like, freaked the fuck out. I don't know. I think it was very, very well done in that regard. So, obviously, one of the things that always bothered me about the film, but like before we like get into the meat and the potatoes of this thing, is why in the fuck? And I'm not surprised because hey, it's the FBI,
Right?
So there we go. Would pluck somebody who was in training to deal with this.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? So, I don't know. I don't think anybody else could have handled it better. And at the same token, I don't think her character thought that she would actually have to do more than just interviewing this guy. So, anywho, she gets plucked, right?
Yeah.
Fresh out of the academy, doesn't know shit. And says that I'm ready for this, I'm good, and obviously she wants to make an impression.
Right.
So, okay.
It seems like she's doing good. Seems like, she's very dedicated. She's working her ass off.
She was very good at her job, just as she first started to speak with Dr. Lecter.
Mm-hmm.
For her, I think she was more put off by the assholes in the cells next to her.
Yes, especially Miggs.
And what was Mitch doing?
He was beating the meat.
Which is probably, most single men out there are doing right now. So, yeah, and then, I don't know, almost like a monkey, like flings it or something, or,
like
or runs up and, oh, that's right. It's what he said to her. My goodness.
My goodness. I couldn't believe he did that, like a monkey flinging poo at her. It was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, didn't it like kind of hit her?
Oh yeah, it hit her like in the face, didn't it? Or stuck in her hair.
Uh-huh. In the face. And that's not a pie in the face, folks.
No. No, it's a cream pie.
So for her to go through this before she even talks to the motherfucker, anyone else probably would have ran either up to him, tried to grab him, like beat his head into the fucking bars, which is probably what I would do. No, she just takes it and moves on. So she gets there. Actually, she kind of runs to his cell after that. Because I think he says, I'm down here or something, something similar to that. Lets her know that he's there.
And what kind of a fuck up world would be going to talk to our cannibal serial killer be comforted? But like, that's what's going on.
Yeah, that even threw me for a loop. Like, so she found comfort in the fact that she's going to be talking to this guy because he's super intelligent. And I honestly think a lot of times she forgets just exactly what he is. She makes mention of it at first when he's starting to psychoanalyze her, which if you've ever been to a psychiatrist, that's what they do. They psychoanalyze you.
Even though she was expressly told, don't tell him anything personal, and yet she does it.
Right, but that actually ends up working in her favor.
No, for sure.
But, never, why would you want to give any fucking secrets to somebody like that? Because, I don't know, there's how many of us out there watch serial killer documentaries. We all do, right?
All the fucking time.
So if you were to put yourself in her position, let's say you write for a fucking magazine, right? And, they tell you, oh, go interview John Wayne Gacy or somebody like that.
Right.
Right? Are you gonna get up close and personal with them?
That's probably a no.
I mean, not for nothing. I'm not usually the type of person to just give up all my cookies when I first meet them in the first place.
Right.
So she's expressly told, don't tell this guy anything. What does she do? She goes back to childhood. Why? Because Dr. Lecter fucking controls every situation and every conversation to his liking.
Yes, that is very true.
And let's face it, he plays her like a fiddle.
Oh, yeah.
And she buys right into it. She gets sucked into it because he's actually listening. I don't know. How much you want to bet that she probably never told anybody that shit before?
I think you're right.
It was just more, I don't know, closed off that part of her life. She just kind of pushed it all down, maybe didn't talk to a psychiatrist, and now she finds herself in this situation where she's got to deal with the Lecter's ass.
Yeah. And honestly, I think she should have been seeing a therapist. I think she got some issues to work out.
Yeah. So accepting this assignment, she probably didn't think that this was going to happen. He totally bamboozled her.
Yep.
So she tries real hard at the beginning, and you can just watch her character unfold as she first starts to be all business, and then it takes a horrible turn for the worse.
Mm.
So, okay, I'll have to look for that later. Anyway, yeah, literally got home, half hour ago. Anyway, so he actually gives off some of the vibes. What does he do? He tests her, runs up to the bars and makes the sound, after saying who he ate and what he had with it, that kind of thing. Just
with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Exactly. Which I believe after that film came out, that particular wine went through the roof in sales.
I'm sure it did.
Seriously. I mean, it's I don't know, the best non-paid advertising you could possibly get. Because everybody remembers that fucking line. Everybody.
Exactly.
So he's trying to see what she's made of.
Yeah.
And she's pretty tough cookie and figures out that if she gives a little, he'll give some back. But the cunning doctor that he is doesn't just give it up so easy. How many times did he give her information and ends up being a dead end almost?
Yeah.
That whole wild goose chase that he sent her on to that fucking it was a garage or what do you call it?
Yeah, storage facility.
Yeah, the storage facility. And there's this old car and there's all this art and shit like that. And then what does she find?
Exactly.
A severed head. So Yummy probably wasn't expecting that one, but he was kind of giving her clues to catch Wild Bill.
Exactly. And no worries, Kyler, you're good.
What do you say now?
He's apologizing if he's talking too much.
The more you talk, the more we love it. Don't be afraid to say shit.
Agreed.
Just don't be an asshole. That's all we ask. As we saw few moments ago. Anyway, so he gives her eventually a name.
He does.
But it wasn't the right name.
Nope, it wasn't.
So let me get your opinion on this, Brother Gangis.
All right.
Why do you suppose he would give her the wrong name?
Just try and test her intelligence.
You know, it's almost like you take a mouse and put it in a maze.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I almost wonder if it was like his psychotic diatribe way of, like you said, testing her to see if she'll figure it out on her own. But at the same token, I think he believes after he's like spent that time with her, everybody else is at their wits' end. They don't know how to catch this guy.
Right.
So I think deep down, Lecter thought that she would find him.
Yeah, I think so too.
Which we all know that's what ends up happening.
Right.
And, Dr. Lecter, he's not a fan of the senator and all that stuff. So he just wanted to get his just desserts to do what? Literally. To be able to break out.
Right.
As the story unfolds. And let's talk about that son of a bitch, Dr. Childen.
I hated that bastard from the start.
Ooh, wee. Boy, is he full of himself.
What an ass.
Oh, man, not just an ass, but an ass hat.
Indeed.
Hashtag ass hat. I hated him from the beginning. So I have this no secret. I've said this many times. I am an anti-hero type lover. I love anti-heroes.
Oh, absolutely.
Namely, probably my most favorite would be Dexter. Motherfucker is an anti-hero to the max.
Absolutely.
And he just happens to be a serial killer too. But at the same token, let's talk about the anti-hero of bad shit. The high school teacher that ends up selling meth to get his cancer medication. Breaking Bad. There it is.
Oh, I didn't see it.
What?
I'm familiar with it.
You never seen it?
No.
Fuck. All right. Walter White, also known as Heisenberg. You need to check it out. It's a great fucking series. But anyway, so he kind of actually, you find yourself rooting for Dr. Lecter. We want him to break out because, first of all, the guy's brilliant and he's really doing everyone a public service by getting rid of these assholes in the first place.
Right.
So that's kind of how I feel about it. Which we all know as we come to the end, he does get his just desserts, so to speak.
Kyler hasn't watched Breaking Bad yet either.
Oh, wait. What did he say? You didn't see it either. Kyler, shame.
Hey, John Mertz, what's up, man?
John, what's up? Dexter is a pimp of the anti-hero. I love it. So that's like I said, watching any of the famous slasher films, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, all those guys, Freddy, you end up rooting for the guy. You want him to win. You know what I mean? In this case, Dr. Lecter is very human.
For sure.
Now, for the longest time, people thought that Dr. Lecter was a real life human being.
Oh, really?
Some people say it was based on a case. So let me put it out there to everybody out there in Three Witches Land. Do you believe that there was such a character that was a psychiatrist who was a cannibal? Now, obviously, Hollywood Hollywoodizes every film. So naturally, there's got to be sequels and all the fun shit. But if you have read the book or know anything about the book, it is said that the character was created based off of a case. So, like I said, we live in an age where everyone is watching these documentary shows. So I wonder if anyone actually tried to figure that out or figure out who that was based on.
I know there's quite a few articles on the internet about people speculating is based on this person, based on that person. It's like, what?
Well, can we get some of them?
Let's see. All right, we have right here. Supposedly, it was based on a Mexican surgeon. Yeah, that's what everyone's saying. A Mexican doctor who murdered his boyfriend in 1959.
Oh, damn! So the legend of Lecter goes all the way back to then?
Yep.
Holy crap. 1959, people. What is it about those decades that spawned some of the, I use this as a lack of better term, greatest serial killer stories of all time? Was it the oppression?
Yeah, it's certainly possible.
It's like the guy that Leatherface was based on. Why did he have a penchant for flesh? I hear it tastes like chicken. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but it's like, why did those anomalies? The words are hard tonight. Anomalies like that happened in so many of those different decades, especially the early decades of this country. It's kind of fucking weird, but it gave birth to this incredible story, which has spawned sequels, prequels, fucking the TV show, which we'll get to that because, did I fucking fall in love with that show.
Oh, I am so fucking sad they didn't keep it going.
None of the apps like Netflix or Hulu wanted to pick it up. How the fuck could you not pick that up?
Ooh, seriously though.
Shame on you, Netflix.
Agreed. And it had fucking great ratings. People love that show. Hell, I know about people who are total pansies, don't even like gore, and they're all over it. And I'm like, wow.
It was like darker than I could ever fucking imagine.
Oh, and the kills were so beautiful.
Oh my goodness. It was pure art.
I remember specifically that one was like a cello or something with the vocal cord.
Oh my God. That was ridiculous. It was insane. But everything was like poetry to Hannibal. And it made so much sense. But we don't get a lot of Hannibal in this first film. Even though, like we said, the story is more based on
Clarice trying to catch Buffalo Bill, yeah.
Or Buffalo Bill. I called him Wild Bill. Gotta love it. Anyways, so Billy Bob.
Billy Boy, Jim Bob.
There are maybe back in the 90s, it wasn't so easy to, and it really kind of touched upon a subject that was taboo.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's talk about that for a second. So, even though everyone says the decade of the 90s was very liberating for many people.
Right.
But for those that had even deeper issues, weren't really able to be themselves.
That is very true.
So we take the story of Silence of the Lambs, and we have a serial killer that was turned down 1,000 times for, the type of therapy and stuff to become what he wanted to become.
Right.
And, well, let's face it, obviously the mental capacity kind of, didn't have good help, or maybe, somebody, mental health was not the biggest subject of the 90s, which goes back to what we were just saying. Hannibal Lecter's character was based on somebody from 1959. Right. So it's like all this shit was happening in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, but yet it all just seems like it got, I don't know, swept under the rug a little bit.
No, I agree with that for sure.
It's like,
well, then again, how many drugs are people doing in the 60s and 70s? Most people probably had no idea what was even going on.
Well, that definitely explains the Manson family. Seeing as one guy who was a decent songwriter was able to make people do whatever he wanted them to do. But that's more of a cult thing. But still, yeah. But then again, some of those other guys, like we talked about John Wayne Gacy and damn it, I'm forgetting the name of the other guy.
That's okay. The less names we say, the better for Facebook.
That's true. I don't want them to give us a little slap on the wrist. So, anywho, they weren't exactly on that stuff or any of that stuff. So it's like, I wonder if mental health would have been a little bit more out in the open. Some of these things wouldn't have happened, right? Well, in this case, with not Wild Bill, Buffalo Bill, the only way he could get satisfaction was to create his own suit.
Yeah.
Diabolical, yes. Hard to watch in some cases, I have to say.
Agreed.
When I first watched Silence of the Lambs, I was like, ooh. But they really didn't explore him like actually pulling the skin off or anything.
No, they didn't, which I thought was really clever. If they had done more of that, then maybe it'd be more of a horror movie. But they didn't. I mean, it's you get what I'm. If there's more like gross torture, skin ripping nastiness,
which, if we go by today's standards,
right,
they would have showed everything.
If Terrifier 2 is any basis of today's movies, yes.
Right. We got a quick question from Kyler. Did they ever confirm the show and the movies were connected?
I mean, it was the same
sort of
characters, same sort of in some ways basic ideas.
Well, if you look at it, Manhunter, which later becomes the Red Dragon,
right?
That is when shortly after Will Graham catches Hannibal.
Right.
So we get into Silence of the Lambs. He's already in prison. And I think this was not one, but maybe 3 books, possibly.
I think so.
I'll have to double check my fact checking on that. Feel free to correct us at any time. Because we like to speculate here and there, but a lot of us have the same ideas. So
4 books.
There we go.
Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Rising.
Yes.
I read all of them at one point.
I definitely read Silence of the Lambs and the Red Dragon, but I didn't get any of the other ones. So it was kind of like, whoa, where did Hannibal Rising come from? Oh, it's a prequel about how he came to be. So that's kind of an interesting thing. I understand it as most cannibals don't live long because of what they eat.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing it since he was like 18 fucking years old.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy how long he lasted. Or he just didn't do it that often. I don't fucking know.
Right.
But, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, gotta hide bodies, get rid of bodies. Figure out your story on how they disappeared and how many different fucking aliases he had. But they were connected. All of the films were. Now, the show, however, takes us on the trip before Hannibal gets arrested. So that is why the way it ended was pure fucking Hollywood.
That is very true.
Because in the books, when Will Graham catches him, he's there.
Mm-hmm.
They never put Will Graham's ass in there. That was kind of the genius, the dark psychological thriller that they put into the show, which I loved so fucking much. It was fan-fucking-tastic.
Hang
And
on.
of course, the flabbier, the better. But for real, though, to answer your question there, they were very well connected. It's just the series took it several steps further.
Yes, it did.
So let's talk about some of the main points. What were some of your favorite moments from the film?
I love the whole thing with the death's head moths. Putting, the chrysalis and the dead chick before she was found in the river. That was freaking cool.
That was by far one of the most interesting facts. You see it in the occult all the time that the death head moth has a significance across the board. So for him to combine his obsession with what he wanted to become, with that, it was almost like nature or human nature imitating nature, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We always say art imitates life. Well, in this case, it's more or less him imitating like you said, the crystallization,
right,
to, the cycle of that one's life, how it becomes something different from what it started out at. So that was like very good imagery there. Hannibal feeding another person their own brain was amazing.
Yeah, that wasn't Signs of the Lambs, though.
That would be the second film, Hannibal Part 2. They simply just called it Hannibal.
They did.
Which is cool. We also, in the series, encounter those characters.
We do.
So that was kind of interesting. Another connection. Well, what else did you find?
I also thought it was, like Kyler just said, I love that scene where he escapes by using someone else's face.
What was that part again? One more time.
The way Hannibal escapes towards the end, he takes the face of the, was it the cop?
That is
something,
correct.
And he's in the ambulance, and he attacks the ambulance dude and gets out.
Definitely didn't see that one coming.
No, definitely.
And as a matter of fact, you saw after that film many more movies, not necessarily where the guy takes his face, that kind of thing. But just the whole switcheroo idea of getting out of prison. I thought that was definitely a very cool thing.
Definitely.
They pretty much literally gave him everything he asked for. And all he wanted was, he knew he wasn't getting out of prison, a room with a view. Well, the whole fucking time he was planning his escape. Brilliant.
Oh, absolutely.
And what did you think of? Now, one of the things that I found particularly interesting was the fact that they had correspondence between Hannibal and Buffalo Bill.
That was
very unique.
Agreed. I think my favorite thing about the entire movie, though, has got to be that scene where Clarice is showing up at Buffalo Bill's, but they're cutting back and forth between her and
and the rest of the FBI team showing up at the wrong address.
That was edited and filmed so beautifully that you have no idea what's going on for a hot second.
No, you truly didn't. You were thinking that she showed up.
Mm-hmm.
But you did have a feeling, though,
that
what is about to happen to this woman? Because she thinks she's just doing her normal door-to-door bullshit and stumbles upon Buffalo Bill. So
next thing you know, you think she'll be putting the lotion on her skin. It's like, uh-oh.
Right. But she's able to overcome it, which is crazy. That's why I loved that sequence where dude puts on the night vision.
That was the only part of the movie that really gave me the fucking chills.
Well, sure, because it's like if you're in that much blackness, how well can you really see in the dark? You know, it's
the whole time I'm yelling at
right.
Clarice, you're being a horrible fucking cop right now. Which she doesn't know that he can see her, so you think the best thing to do would be find your way to a corner, shut the fuck up, and don't move. Or just pick a spot.
That would have been smart. That totally would have been smart.
And then stop moving and listen. See if you hear him move.
There it is.
If he's coming straight towards you, maybe you'll figure out, oh shit, he knows where I'm at. No, instead she's stumbling around in the dark like an idiot, making all sorts of fucking noise.
All kinds of noise, waving the gun around. That was smart. Did you know that if Buffalo Bill was a little bit smarter, he could have actually knocked a weapon out of her hand?
Mm-hmm.
He could see it. But she didn't know that.
No.
Goodness.
Some FBI agent she is.
That's why I said, why the fuck would you pluck a fucking rookie who didn't even get her goddamn badge yet to get entangled in this thing, especially since the case was so wishy-washy. Nobody knew anything other than they all had something in common.
Yeah.
But I think it was more or less, though, Clarice who put together that the killer was making a woman suit.
Oh, definitely.
Nobody else made that connection. Way to go, FBI.
Yeah.
You know? So there's a lot of really good moments. So when we talk about a lot of the great final girls, I would say Clarice and obviously Jodie Foster is high on that fucking list based on this film.
I can agree with that. I mean, granted, if Buffalo Bill were smarter, she would have just died because she's being fucking stupid. But no, I'll let her be on the list.
How many of the final girls in those other films were kind of stupid too?
That's true.
Jamie Lee Curtis went into a fucking closet. Not even a metal closet. It had the old school little wood pieces that you could see through. You don't think somebody like Mikey Myers could break through it? Fuck yeah, he will.
Exactly.
Shit. And let's face it, if she didn't have the right mindset to make a coat hanger into a weapon, which
Yeah.
still like boggles my mind to this day, because most people can't really make a coat hanger do what you want it to do, and especially when you're sort of in the dark, manage to stick it in his eye.
Yeah.
So in this case, I think Jodie Foster had to deal with a hell of a lot more. Not being able to see, she's fucking scared as shit, and she doesn't realize that she needs to stop, drop, and not move and listen. She could have been killed 100 fucking times.
Oh yeah, he was like 6 inches behind her that whole time.
The whole fucking time. He could have grabbed her. It's like, was he afraid that she'd have an accidental AD? You never know.
That's possible.
But then again, you know, she wasn't quiet about anything.
Yeah.
Like, never. Which is why I'm surprised that she managed to survive on the couch when she ended up pulling the knitting needle in order to stick it in his neck. And of course, it gets the fuck back up. But we're talking about what made this movie scarier is because it was more human.
Yes.
There was no supernatural.
Nope.
And a lot of the times, I will always say this, any horror film that doesn't really have that supernatural aspect to it makes it more terrifying, which is why Texas Chainsaw was so fucking good.
Agreed.
Not saying I don't like the ones that were more on the supernatural tip.
Right, of course we love those.
Yeah, like not only could you relate or understand the character, it was like realistic as fuck.
Oh yeah, that's why movies like The Strangers scare the piss out of me. It could happen.
Exactly. It's almost like the writer of the book and the script must have like read through some shit on how some of these serial killers, you know, get their victims, right?
I'm sure he probably must have read a lot or interviewed people, you know, how like the FBI mind works and how they, you know, piece stuff together and all that crap too.
And, you know, especially back in those times, it was way fucking harder. They didn't have all that technology. They didn't have, you know, DNA.
Right.
You couldn't really, you know, all they were relying on was fingerprints.
Fingerprints and dental records.
Right. So, you know, depending upon how a serial killer wants to do their thing, is going to depend on whether or not they can catch the motherfucker. So, I don't know. So, I have to say, not only Sir Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster, but the gentleman that played Buffalo Bill deserve. He deserves just as many kudos.
And so is the chick who played the governor's daughter. She nailed that.
Oh fuck yeah! I mean, let's face it, legit stuck her in a hole. You know, as I was a part of the Face of Horror contest. That was one of the prizes, was being able to go to the house where they shot this thing. There literally is a house, folks, that has in the basement this like medieval, I don't know, maybe it was like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes. He was shot to death by her because she finally figured out.
Yeah.
As he was like 2 inches from grabbing her by the neck. Whips around and lets it rip. So, yes, definitely dies. I do not put the lotion on the skin.
Well, then you get the hose again.
Exactly. I'd rather get the hose. And let's face it, how many fucking t-shirts, merch items that have all these catchphrases? That was the next thing I was going to say. This shit was so big, not then, because you didn't really see t-shirt companies printing, these things, and they almost become kind of funny. But, back then when it first came out, and for anybody who watches it for the first time, you don't really laugh at it, but it's like after you watch it, you finally realize, oh, this wasn't real. You can kind of see the funny side. Just like, Hellraiser comments from the movie, stuff like that, all of we're like, man, love that fucking movie. Oh, that comment was the fucking shit.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I'll wear that. So now I just saw, what was it, Gutter Garbs the other day, has a whole Silence of the Lambs thing. They got like, Buffalo Bill's House of Flesh or something like that. Like a restaurant or something. Or Hannibal with, hey, who am I cooking? That kind of thing.
And, even though that movie came out forever ago, you're still seeing lots of memes about it and all sorts of shit all the time. My personal favorite.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what, though? That was actually one of my favorite parts was her telling him about that story.
Yes.
And the fact that when they're talking and he goes, can you still hear the lambs? And it's like, I got fucking freaked out over that, just the way it was delivered, and packed, her dad's death into it and all that stuff. And it's like, man, you can just really see how certain things can traumatize people at a young age, especially a kid. Something that when you're an adult, you just, I don't know, take better for the most part. Well, and it just depends.
Right.
But man, as a kid though, that could seriously fuck with you and have nightmares for the rest of your fucking life. So, man, that was, and that's why they called it that. It's basically like she was the sacrificial lamb in this whole fucking story because she didn't ask for that shit.
Exactly.
All she thought she was going to be doing was talking to a nut job, recording, whatever the fuck he says. And then suddenly he knows the guy.
Exactly.
I don't think she was expecting that. She was just thinking that he could give her some talking points on how you might want to go about trying to catch this guy.
Exactly.
I mean, that's like going to
way the fuck out of her league.
Yeah, it's like, if I went to a photo shoot thinking that, this was going to happen, next thing I know, I wake up, I'm in chains and somebody's trying to like take my kidney or something. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not what she signed up for, but she fucking kept going.
Exactly.
And then it's like she got even smarter. And I think Hannibal actually dug the fact that she could see through his bullshit.
Exactly.
Because at first she just ate it up like it was fucking a finger.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I kind of dug about it. It was like the relationship between the two of them. And like, I think that was like maybe one of the first times that he ever had a normal relationship with anybody.
For sure.
Especially if you go back to the Hannibal Rising movie or the book.
I'm just glad that they didn't keep the ending of the book for Hannibal, which is stupid and ridiculous. You know what I mean, right?
You talking about that second film?
I'm talking about how in the book for the second one, at the end, Hannibal and Cletus are actually a couple. That's what they did in the book. So I'm so glad they didn't stick with that.
Well, that's what's great about fiction books. How is that too weird, though? How many times do you hear of? I know this is probably like kind of a fucked up subject, but that's what we're all about here at the Witchin Kitchen Hour. How many times have you read somewhere where somebody who kidnaps somebody, somehow they end up like, some of them like actually fall for their captors? I don't think it's so far-fetched that they would end up together because let's face it, when they were giving all this exchange back and forth, and they kind of play on this in the movie Hannibal, that they did have a connection. Why else would she tell him shit that she would never have told anyone else? And here you are in the midst of a huge FBI case, and you're divulging your innermost thoughts to a serial killer. And you know this, and he's behind bars.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's not too far-fetched, but I think that if they would have stuck that in the film, it would have shocked the fuck out of people. In a bad way, even though I'm sure most people that were fans of it could handle it. And you do see one moment in that second film when he has gotten out of a horrible situation with a bunch of pigs, and he's carrying her to safety. And there's no sound except music, and you just see the back of him carrying her off like he was her knight in shining black armor. So I think they paid homage to it. It's just they probably felt they couldn't sell it. So
I'm just sad that she didn't return for that Jodie Foster didn't return.
That was also tough. Did they put a really good actress in her spot? Absolutely. I mean, she showed up in so many good things.
Oh, for sure.
But is there any interview where Jodie Foster divulged why she didn't come into the second film?
Let's see. She said in December of 1999 that the characterization of Sterling and Hannibal had negative attributes and betrayed the original character. Whatever that means.
Negative attributes?
And she was also working on another movie. But
okay, so maybe do you think that maybe because they chose not to do that budding romance?
Maybe. I don't know.
Because the only negative attributes that I could see is the fact that she is constantly trying to catch his ass.
Yeah.
And that, in turn, that whole experience was traumatizing.
Right.
Because in the second one, he's constantly sending her letters. Almost like he was begging her to find him.
Pretty much.
Don't die on us now.
Right.
Even like that moment when he's got her on the cell phone and he slips in and out. She's got no fucking idea.
Right.
And, he's on the Ferris wheel and comes around and like gets her just his fingers through her hair. You could tell this psychotic bastard loved her.
Oh, yeah.
In a bad way,
For sure.
And he, honestly, I truly believe this, would never harm her. I don't think he would. It's like he coveted her way above every fucking body else. I mean, look what he did with her ex-boyfriend at the end.
That is true.
He knows how much of a piece of shit he was just by, anything that was on the news and her going through disgracement because of some other case. And he's like, gets revenge for her. Is that love or what? Maybe not the way she wanted to, but still.
Yeah.
He cut his own hand off instead of hers. that was also a defining moment. Like we said,
Totally.
they didn't want to go they fell in love and like went off into the sunset kind of shit, but instead showed it in a different way. Salvador Dali, as a matter of fact, cut off a limb to show his love for somebody, but yet she was pretty freaked out.
I think
Cut
you
his
mean.
ear off, actually.
I thought it was Picasso.
Nope. Dolly.
Was it Dolly?
It was Dolly. Remember, he was the one that painted all the body parts in such precarious ways that most horror fans love the art. Check out some of the stuff.
Oh, we were both wrong. It was Van
pretty
Gogh.
I'm sorry?
Van Gogh cut his ear off.
Shit. It was Van Gogh?
Yes, sir.
Thought for sure that was Dolly.
No.
I guess he was just obsessed with what body parts look like.
I guess we both suck.
Well, I am getting old.
I
Because it is
understand.
my birthday next Friday.
It is. Speaking of getting older, you know what happened yesterday, Reaper? Well, yesterday was the birthday of Three Witches.
It was.
It was. And what a great year we've had with all of you who watch us.
Absolutely. You know, I'm surprised we don't have a anniversary T-shirt.
Oh, that's a good
probably
idea.
make one just to commemorate it.
I should do that. I'll do that, and maybe we should do like a discount code.
That would be great. Let's go 1 year.
Yeah, we'll do it.
So those of you joining us tonight out there in Three Witches Land, you can go to our store and get a discount on one of our fine new pieces of merch out there for any of the shows that you love, and not have to pay full price. That's even fucking better.
That is even better.
And as a matter of fact, I've also unleashed today that there are going to be 3 calendars this year. One of myself, my very first, as well as Mischief's, and the Reaper Mischief calendar. So there are all kinds of good stuff coming out. So please stay glued to Three Witches page, Reaper's Underground, Mischief's page for all the latest updates on all the cool stuff. So
absolutely.
Yeah, the discount code will be 1 year. You heard it here first. And we should definitely make that a post immediately.
I'm working on it right now.
Hell yeah. I appreciate it, Kyler. Absolutely. And we're working on fixing that other issue for you, John. So get ready. It's coming.
For sure.
So that ends another edition of the Witchin' Kitchen Hour. I'm going to take a stab of my meat here and enjoy it, as well as some other goodies. Thank you all for joining us tonight as we have had an awesome discussion of Silence of the Lambs and the Hannibal Lecter character in all the different forms, all the different movies. And I have to say, my second favorite guy who has played Hannibal Lecter is the guy from the series, Mads Martensen. Absolutely. A German actor who kills it in literally every fucking thing he does, every film. You probably didn't know he was there, but he was in a lot of different action films. Check him the fuck out. And if you haven't seen the series, watch it.
Absolutely.
Guarantee you'll be able to find it. It will take you through a psycho trip without the acid.
For sure.
Guaranteed. So hopefully, if you haven't eaten already, and you're cooking some flesh, and you'll think about this podcast, and at the same token, share it out. But always stay heavy.
Driving in this wasteland, let the sun bleach the bone.